Mr. Itamar Marcus, you are director of the Palestinian Media Watch, and today you are releasing a new report that you say tells us that the Oslo Accords were a failure. That's a big thing to announce. Why would you say that?
I'm not actually saying that the Oslo Accords were a failure. I'm saying that they were a fraud. For Israel's perspective, the Oslo Accords were a failure. From the Palestinian perspective, the Oslo Accords were a great success because it allowed them to move a terror organization that was based in Tunisia, and it moved the terror organization right inside the heartland of Israel and has enabled them to commit terror. So the interesting thing here is that there were two Oslo Accords that were signed. Israel signed an Oslo Accords hoping for peace. Palestinian Authority, or PLO, actually signed the Oslo Accords hoping to gain a foothold inside of the land of Israel, what they call Palestine, so they could continue their terror war against Israel from the inside. So from Israel's perspective, it was a failure. From the Palestinian perspective, it was a great success.
But how would you document the claim that that you could call it a fraud?
A fraud. This report, Teaching Terror to Tots, is really all the proof that you need. This is Fatah's education of their children. We studied all the magazines. This is Fatah educational magazine for ages 6 to 15. We studied all the magazines going back for 8 years. And what we found is that every fundamental that was promised in the Oslo Accords is contradicted by this report. This report says that the Jewish people have no right to a state in Israel, that they are all foreigners. They weren't here, not them, not their grandfathers, not their ancestors. They have no history in the land. Therefore, they have no right to exist in any borders. And therefore, when Israel is destroyed, that will be justice. And that will be inevitable. All of these are messages that repeat over and over and over again through the 8 years of education that we've been watching. And that's why the Oslo Accords were a fraud. Because they tell the world it's a process leading to peace. They tell their children it's a process leading to Israel's destruction.
So this magazine that you've studied, which is called Waed, it's published by the Lion, Cubs and Flowers, a children movement within the Fatah party, the ruling party of the
it's not within. This is
Palestinian
the children
Authority.
Yes, this is the children's movement, the children's youth movement within the Fatah party. It's run by senior people within Fatah. It's not a small fringe thing. These reports, these magazines, are given out in the school system. We have pictures of principals having big events where they hand out this magazine. It's not fringe. This is mainstream Palestinian Authority and their ruling party, which of course is Fatah.
Could you give us an example? What does it look like when you want to teach children these messages?
An example from the school book?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you an example.
Or from this magazine.
From the magazine, I'm sorry, from the magazine. Yes, so what they'll teach, for example, is that our people are 5,000-year-old Palestinian people. Of course, it's a lie. There never were Palestinian people till very, very recently. But they say we have a 5,000-year-old Palestinian people, and we were invaded by the Pharaohs, by the Hyksos, by the Persians, by the Romans, by the Greeks, and by the Hebrews. And all of those occupiers left. We defeated all of those occupiers, and just as we defeated those occupiers, we will defeat the current Zionist occupier, and he will leave too. One of the quotes in the school book is, is that as soon as Israel's, they don't word it that way. I'm sorry, let me get it. What they say is, in the end, all of the Jews will leave Palestine. That's the message. That's the message, that all the Jews will leave Palestine. So there's no hesitation here. There's no trying to pretend. They tell it like they really believe, like their ideology is, and that's why I say it, in a sense, proves that the Oslo Accords were a fraud from the beginning, because you can't tell the international community we accept Israel while you're teaching a whole generation of Palestinian children that Israel has no right to exist We have the right to use armed struggle, meaning kill even civilians in order to achieve our goal, and eventually we will destroy them and they will not exist. That's the message, and it, like I said, the Oslo were a fraud. I believe more what they tell their children than I believe what they're telling the President of the United States or the Prime Minister of Israel or the Prime Minister of Norway. What they're telling their children, and we were seeing it over and over and over again for so many years, this is what they really believe and this is what they really want.
You are exposing the content from this children's magazine in a new report that you are releasing today. How come this is not known to the world already?
So, the Palestinian Authority has kept this report internal. They've kept it amongst themselves. We were fortunate enough to discover its existence about a year ago, and then we went back and did this entire research into the report, and then we decided to go back 8 years to just keep going back until we have enough information to see maybe there's some no, there's no change. This is their message for, like I say, for all of these 8 years. And because the international community has not known about this magazine, it is a pristine example of their ideology. They didn't hide anything because they didn't know people were looking. The school books, they try to fix and make them look better because they know the world's looking. Their media on TV, as bad as it is, they try. Here, they thought nobody was looking. Anyway, we found it. PMW found it, Palestinian Media Watch, and now the world's going to know about it.
What would you say would be a proper reaction to knowing this from the Western countries that would get familiarized with your report?
With this report. Any country that has moral and ethical values will immediately stop funding the Palestinian Authority. It's bad enough that you ignore the political implications, but to actually pay for this, to pay the Palestinian Authority, which gives money to Fatah, which produces this, to pay the Palestinian Authority money, which will then guarantee that we have war and conflict and terror for another generation or more generations, is immoral. So any decent country will have to stop funding the Palestinian Authority, and beyond that they have to put all the pressure that they can, all the political pressure, to have the Palestinian Authority eliminate all of those people who are involved in this hate education. Get them out of power, Put in new people to run the Palestinian Authority, people who actually accept Israel's right to exist and want to live in peace with Israel. We have to find those people. The international community has an obligation to find those people. We can't just keep going on with momentum and supporting a terror organization.
Do you think that Fatah should be designated as a terrorist organization?
Fatah is a terrorist organization. The Palestinian Authority is a terrorist organization. By international standards, the international community, the UN has said that glorifying terror promotes terror. The Palestinian Authority glorifies every single terrorist. The United States has passed a law that funding terror, the Taylor Force Act, funding terror, funding terrorists, rewarding terrorists promotes terror. Palestinian Authority rewards terrorists, they promote terror. According to the United States, according to all standards, they are terrorists. So we're trying to avoid designating them as a terror organization in the hope that they might change. But if it hasn't helped for more than 20 years, or more than 22 years since they started the terror in 2000, why do we think it's not going to change, that it will change in the next 20 years? So let's learn from our mistakes. Let's designate them as a terror organization. Let's see if they can replace them, get rid of all this terror ideology, get it out of their schools, get it out of their behavior. Stop rewarding terrorists. If they stop behaving like terrorists, then we have someone to talk to.
Because having someone to talk to is an argument that is often used from the political viewpoint, saying that who else would we talk to if we shouldn't relate to Fatah as a partner for dialogue and for helping the Palestinians. How do you respond to that?
Giving money to the Palestinians dialoguing with the Palestinian Authority, giving money to the Palestinian Authority is not helping Palestinians. It's helping to enrich the upper political echelons of the Palestinian Authority. The people aren't benefiting from the money that's going to the Palestinian Authority. When the Palestinian Authority uses this money to teach children to be terrorists, to teach them to be martyrs, to be shaheeds, to kill themselves for Allah, if that's what they're using the money for, you're not benefiting the Palestinian Authority or the Palestinian people by giving money to the Palestinian Authority.
Every year you speak to European governments about these subjects, and you've also visited Norway and met parliamentarians in our country. How is the level of understanding that you face when you meet European politicians?
Every time I meet a European politician, the importance of Palestinian Media Watch presentations is that I don't tell them what I think. I let them see what the Palestinians are saying and let them see what the Palestinians believe. I show them videos, I show them texts from school books, I show them texts from reports like this, magazine Wad, Terror to Tots. When people see this, they absolutely are convinced. Unfortunately, what happens is time goes on, then they'll meet a Palestinian leader and they'll say, oh, that doesn't really represent us, and it's not this, and it's not that, and they'll accept these ridiculous explanations of the PA. What we need is a more systematic follow-up, really, so that when MPs see the material, we need the government to actually act on this immediately. Because what happens is, like anything, it dissipates. As time goes on, people forget the messages, and we have to come back over and over again and repeat them. So we have to work more closely, have better follow-up. We need people in every country to follow up with the governments so that they don't forget what they saw and what they learned about the Palestinian Authority and its connection to terror.